Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm Isana Ketal.
And thank you for joining us this morning.
Sort of a wet Monday morning.
Yeah. Weather looking a bit indecisive this morning.
Yeah.
It's wet, now it's getting sunny. But we'll be finding out more about our weather shortly, and you'll know what you can expect.
Mm-hmm. I think this weekend, just looking back briefly, I was talking to a few people down south, and they were sharing with me their concerns of what is taking place down there in terms of the COVID situation.
Yeah.
I know we'll get into that a little bit later,
Yeah.
but it's just something that I wanted to put out there initially.
Of course. I think COVID is on everybody's mind at this point in time, especially as we move around and we understand that the cases are growing. So it is, but we'll be talking a bit about that in Eye on the News, of course. It's always a good time to get in a plug to say vaccinations are open for all phases. Go on out and get vaccinated. And of course, do remember to maintain all your protocols. We got to keep doing both, getting our shots and also ensuring that we're protecting ourselves in the meantime.
Yeah.
But let's get moving into some motivation for this morning, and that means it's time for Eye Opener. And our eye opener, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. Make sure you aren't running away from your problems, always moving towards something. There are times when change, moving to a new city or a new home or changing careers, is the right thing at the right time. But there are also times when the urge for change is really just a desire to run away from problems that need to be faced rather than avoided. These are the kinds of problems that recur in our lives. For example, issues with coworkers that seem to arise at every job we take, or repeatedly getting into unhealthy relationships. A move might temporarily distract us and even cure the problem for a time, simply by taking us out of the situation in which the problem fully manifested itself. However, the problem will eventually appear again in our new situation. One way to make sure you aren't running away from your problems is to notice whether you are moving towards something that is exciting in its own right, as opposed to something that is appealing only because it is not where you are now. Any pain involved in facing our issues is well worth the effort in the end. When we face our problems, instead of avoiding them, we free our energy and transform ourselves from people who run away into people who enthusiastically move forward.
This eye-opener reminds me of the idea of escapism. When people choose to run away from a situation or try to escape from the reality of a situation they may be faced with. When I look at myself and the journey that I've gone through to where I am now at my age and my station in life, I realize that I have always been someone who faces a problem head on. Even if it's in a relationship, perhaps if it's a problem at work, problems with my friends or whatsoever. Because for me, I'm not settled until the issue is resolved or until I am satisfied that I've made all attempts to face it forward and be able to deal with it as it comes. And so it's been difficult for me to reconcile with others who are of a different approach that they would rather, leave the problem be and see what happens thereafter as opposed to meeting it head on. And in the context of a relationship, if you are of one mindset and your spouse is of another, it kind of gets, when you are trying to resolve something and that individual is saying, okay, well, I don't need to deal with that right now, or you know what, that's not an issue for us to discuss at the moment, or what have you. It's difficult. Going back to what I'm saying, for me personally, the journey has been one where if I look back and I say, you know what, I've been faced with serious problems in my past before, and the only reason I've been able to persevere is the fact that I was able to meet those issues head on, as opposed to saying, well, look, I'll leave it for another day.
Yeah. No, and I think there are two times that we consider this. There's some people who naturally have the pattern.
Yeah.
They kind of run away from everything when it gets hard. And there's some who just do it maybe with specific instances. We all have those friends who jump from relationship to relationship and always end it because of the same reason, not realizing that the only common denominator in all of it is them.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with jobs. People who jump from jobs to jobs to jobs with the same complaint, not realizing how they contributed to it.
Yeah.
And then there are times when we kind of just do it with specific instances. Maybe this is just one part of our life. It could be your relationship, your work life, your friendships, your family issues, where you have some sort of avoidance. And I get it. It's hard. Difficult conversations are hard. Facing tough truths about yourself and facing tough truths about the scenario that you don't like dealing with, it takes a lot of effort. It takes a willingness perhaps to hear a part of it that you are the problem. And it takes the additional challenge of having to make the change if you want it to be better.
Yeah.
But I do agree. I think, you keep on running away from things, then you never actually settle anything. You're just kind of constantly escaping. And how do you ever grow from that?
Yeah.
So the growth that comes in being able to face up to things when they get tough is even if it doesn't work out the way you wanted to. And I think that's the caveat we have to remember. It doesn't mean because you face it, you're going to get the result that you want.
Yeah.
But the growth that comes from it is important.
There's a certain satisfaction that, as you said, Marlene, even if it does not work out the way you would have wanted it to, there's a sense of satisfaction that at least you made an attempt to deal with it up front.
And in the larger scheme, I think what happens though is sometimes we wake up, we grow up thinking that it's just all journeys are going to have like a very straight path, and it's you have a bump here or there, but that's not fact. You have obstacles, you have failures, you have challenges, and that's part of the process. You can't run away from that. All right, so that is the eye opener for this morning, but we got to do a weather check-in to find out what we can expect for today, and we have Shania Young on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today, Shania?
I am good.
All right, Shania. So I can't figure out if it's going to be a wet day or a sunny day. Please tell us what's going to happen.
Okay, well, conditions continue relatively moist over the area, and skies will be sunny with a few cloudy spells today, and a few showers and isolated thunderstorms will occur mostly over the south and some coastal areas this morning and tonight, then over inland areas this afternoon.
Okay. And what about our winds?
The winds will be from the east at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea conditions will be light sharp.
Okay. And tell us about our temperatures.
High temperatures today along the coast will be 88 degrees Fahrenheit, 94 inland, and 82 in the hills.
Okay.
And tonight, low temperatures will be 80 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 76 inland, and 70 in the mountains.
All right. And for the next few days, what's it going to be like?
So for Tuesday, a few showers and isolated thunderstorms will continue, mostly inland and the south. And on Wednesday and Thursday, just general isolated showers is expected.
All right. Now, let's turn our eyes out to the tropics. Elsa is putting a beating on Cuba and Jamaica. What's the update there?
Yes, so as of 6 a.m. this morning, Tropical Storm Elsa was centered near 21.4 north, 80.7 west, or about 55 miles east-southeast of Cayo Largo, Cuba. And Elsa was moving to the northwest at 14 miles per hour with maximum sustained winds of 65 miles per hour.
All All right, and
It
it's
strengthened slightly.
yeah, and it's still tracking north.
Yes, towards the northwest, and it should be passing over Cuba later today.
Okay. Is it going to strengthen when it passes over Cuba?
I don't think before it passes, but after it passes over Cuba, before it heads towards Florida, it could possibly strengthen slightly before affecting them.
All right. Well, definitely no threat to us, and we're not facing any of the effects of Elsa, right?
No. At this time, it doesn't pose any significant threat to us, but we're closely monitoring the system, and then it is contributing to some of the moisture that it has been over the area for the past few days with the passage of a tropical wave, and then as it moves into the area, it's supporting low-level moisture, which is producing some of the showers that we have been experiencing.
Oh, okay.
But other than that, no.
All right, and is there anything we need to be monitoring at this time?
No, at this time, there's no next tropical system that is being monitored for the next few days.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that update, Shania.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too.
All right.
Bye.
So our friends in Cuba are bracing for the passage of tropical storm Elsa.
Yeah, and of course, you know, the amount of water is always a problem. I was seeing some of the news reports out of Jamaica over the weekend. They were already seeing some flooding taking place. And, you know, we do, of course, have them in our thoughts, our Caribbean brothers and sisters in Jamaica and Cuba. It passed over the Eastern Caribbean at the end of last week. Did some damage there as well. But it is a very critical reminder for all of us that we are in the hurricane season and we have to get our plans in gear because we don't know if it'll be us.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to keep things moving and get into some of the big stories that are coming up today and for the rest of this week with Eye on the News.
So we prefaced our first conversation for the Eye on the News segment this morning earlier at the start of the show with respect to the lockdown of certain parts of the South. We're talking Toledo District and the fact that the surge in the number of cases has prompted the government, the Ministry of Health and Wellness, to take certain immediate measures to see how best they can curtail this rash, if I may. We know that the communities of Midway, Conejo, and Barranco are essentially under a lockdown, and that the government has pledged that the families of those respective households that are affected will be assisted with $150 weekly for the next 2 weeks, I believe it is, right? It's one of those situations where the outbreak perhaps was not as quickly detected before it got to where we are at this point, where we have 3 communities that are fairly close to each other being affected by the COVID-19 situation. And of course, this, as you mentioned earlier as well, is against the backdrop of the push for persons to become vaccinated. Yeah. And the fact that at this point, it is open to everyone 18 and older. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how effective that will be in terms of the approach being employed.
Well, I think, you know, the announcement on Friday was very telling because it's very clear that we're entering what we see as a third wave. We're seeing a continuous increase in cases as we move forward. But the question has always been whether or not the government would entertain a potential lockdown moving forward. What we are seeing is that they're perhaps going to do it more strategically, focusing on specific communities or specific areas where outbreaks exist. All eyes, I believe, will be now on places like Orange Walk, where there have been quite a number of cases as well. I know one of the concerns with the South especially is how they commute. They rely very much on public transportation. that pass through different villages. And so when you're thinking of passengers getting on a bus and moving to another village for work or any other reason, that definitely has the potential to be a spreader. So being able to kind of lock down those communities for the 2 weeks while they get a handle on that is one way of being able to minimize the spread. But even while the South, they're taking some control there, it is something that I think we have to keep on paying attention to what's happening across the country. And as I mentioned before, Orange Walk had seen quite a number of cases. And I do have to tell you, there are some people who aren't getting tested. And I know that firsthand. I know people who've been exposed and they put themselves into isolation because they just assume they have it. So the numbers that we have are only those that have been tested and reported in the system. There are more out there undetected or untested at this point in time. So we have to keep that in mind as we keep on moving. The new variant that has been detected, and we don't know which one it is at this time, because the sample has been sent off to Baylor College, and we're going to get the results from them. We were told Friday, but to be fair, the Minister of Health did tell us on Wednesday that they were hoping for Friday, and it is a matter of sending it out for testing and for the sequencing process to find out which variant. But the new variants in general tend to be more transmissible. So anything other than the type of COVID-19 we were seeing before, we expect to be spreading a lot faster.
Yeah. What is of interest here as well is the mechanism or the controls that the government has put in place to effect this lockdown. Are we seeing more perhaps frontline personnel in those particular communities? Are we, in the case of Barranco, for instance, where people are able to travel either by sea or by road?
That's true.
How are we managing or containing the situation? So it will be interesting to see what mechanisms or controls are in place to keep a lid on the spread of the
I
COVID
didn't
virus
consider
down
the boating aspect for Barranco, especially if they'll have checks there. They do have a post down south. I'm sure that can help with that situation there.
So okay, so that's one conversation, right? Just to remind people that when we left on Friday, we were at 350 active cases, right? And so we haven't really taken into account Saturday and Sunday, but those numbers perhaps will be issued sometime later today. So that's on the COVID front.
Well, we do have vaccinations that are open as well. It's always something that we do have to remind people about. And we saw such a surge last week. I know you did a story on that.
And that was commendable in a sense because it came on the heels of the press conference that was held last week, right? It was just around that time where the new variant or mention of the new variant was made, and so that the ensuing days you had people lining up, at least here in Belize City. I can't speak for the other parts of the country. We would want to assume that perhaps there was also an uptick in the number of persons who went out to get vaccinated. However, in Belize City, we saw Swift Hall, we saw Central Health Region, and there was actually even a booth out at the city center where people came out to get vaccinated. So that is a good thing. There's a concerted effort at this point in time to get persons vaccinated.
Well, and it's interesting because since the surge on Wednesday, which was the day the announcement was made, Minister Shabat had mentioned on the show that there was a variant, and it was the same day that they also launched their new vaccination campaign and opened opened up the vaccination to any person over 18. So you're looking at three possible reasons as to why the surge has taken place. One, people who never met any of the criteria before could go, and we're told that quite a number of young people who work with call centers have been asked to go in and get vaccinated. So you have the younger population going in. You have people who are very concerned about the new variant that was detected that went in, and then of course you had teachers and frontline workers and public servants who had also been made aware that they will be required to test come August, and so some of them also went out. So we had a number of people, I can't tell you definitively which one it is, but I know they're all factors that have contributed to the increase.
As a sidebar, seeing as though you've mentioned teachers and other government employees, so from the understanding we have is that you would either have to get vaccinated or you would have to present the negative test results of either a rapid test or a PCR test on a bi-weekly basis. And so some people are already raising concerns about their freedom of choice and the fact that in this particular case it's severely limiting. You have persons who may, for whatever reason, not be keen on getting vaccinated, but the fact that the cost of testing on a 2-week basis may be very prohibitive, it kind of limits your opportunity or your freedom of choice. That is one argument that I've been hearing people bringing up since this mention was made on Wednesday of last week. Yeah. So it'll be equally as interesting to see where that goes in terms of any challenges or what have you.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear people expressing that concern, and I think that it is something that there are two things I question at times. One, it's understanding more about why people are hesitant. I mean, we see comments online, we hear some things in conversation, but there has to be a deeper dive into understanding what's making people feel uncertain or unwilling to get the vaccine. And then secondly, the information has to be targeted. You know, if it is perhaps a religious group, as we've been told in the South, that are telling people don't get vaccinated, see if you can work with them to try to get some proper education done. If it's a workplace where people feel uncertain for some reason, I know some people are worried about side effects of the vaccination, get in there and talk to them as well. So it has to be a continuous education to just make people feel comfortable. It's new. And we all know how we react to things that are new or different to us. There's usually a bit of trepidation that takes place.
Yeah.
So I know that that's just one part of the campaign that is taking place, and we do hope that they can get into, especially communities where they have very low, or in workplaces or sectors where they have very low uptake.
All right, so moving from the COVID situation, Friday was also a big day in terms of the House meeting and developments in Parliament. We know that it was the first day that the leader of the opposition actually took his seat inside the House of Representatives. There was a piece of law, there is a piece of law that was presented as well that he feels so strongly against. And that is also against the backdrop of the position that his father has taken as well. Former Prime Minister, Right Honorable Dean Barrow, has spoken openly against this particular legislation or proposed legislation simply because there is the feeling that it takes away from the opportunity for persons who have been convicted before for lesser crimes in this particular case. I say lesser because, well, the capital crime would be crimes of murder or treason or those other heavier crimes, right? So people who have spent 12 months in jail would not be eligible to run for public office. But the argument is, what if after having served that time, this individual goes on a path to redeem him or herself in the eyes of society? Does this then not allow or warrant for someone to say, you know what, yes, I did the crime, I've served the time, I've learned from that, and I have made every effort to change my life. I am here now preparing to offer myself to represent a constituency or a group of people. And the law is saying, no, you cannot do that. And part of it is the idea that it does not necessarily matter if the crime was committed here in Belize or in any other territory, if I may. And so it's one of those things where the new leader of the opposition, who himself has been in a similar situation, feels so passionately about, to the point where he has mentioned openly as well that he's prepared to challenge this legally all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice. So that too will be something that we will be looking at to see what becomes of that position he has taken. Now, Marlene, on the heels of that, we're also looking at a subsequent meeting of the Senate to be had in the days ahead, and we will see the installation of a new senator, Darrell Bradley, who is the former president of the Senate and who is the previous two-time mayor of Belize City, who will be replacing Khalid Belail in that capacity. Now, all of this comes ahead of what is to take place on Sunday when the United Democratic Party meets in a recall convention, right? And late last night, I believe it was, I got a communication from Shine that there's a push to encourage all delegates at this point to vote in the recall and to be able to, you know, proceed with the agenda that is being placed forward to see Patrick Farber removed as the leader of the party. Mm-hmm. So all of that is taking place this week. Yeah, there goes Mr.
Interestingly
Farber.
arrived late to the House meeting on Friday and took, I think it was the fourth seat.
Yeah.
So that, you know, all eyes were on it. That's part of the political drama that was to unfold on Friday, and as many had suspected, he would not sit second, or because the leader of the opposition decides the seating arrangement, and there is a very clear rift between Shine Barrow and Patrick Farber. Many had expected that he would be seated further down, and in fact, that was exactly what played out. But that isn't as much of importance as what will take place this week. What we have seen, though, is that Patrick Farber is on a campaign trail.
Yeah.
He's moving around the country, meeting with delegates and attempting to sway them to ensure that he can maintain his position as party leader of the United Democratic Party. This implosion of sorts of what is taking place in the UDP has definitely garnered a lot of attention. And so to see what will take place, because the delegates are the ones who are going to decide.
Yeah.
They are members of the party. They get to choose who they want. It's not so much for the public as much as people who ascribe to be members of the political party and who have been made delegates for the party as well. They will be the one to decide whether they want to move forward with Patrick Farber as their leader or not.
So in reference to the communication that I mentioned earlier from Shine Barrow, he mentioned that in the first leadership convention that was held last year, this is amid the Lev Derman situation, Farber was defeated by a landslide. And so the second time around, it was by a hair's breadth that he actually defeated John Saldivar. And so I think the general sentiment from what Shine was saying is that the delegates have overwhelmingly, in the first instance, chosen one particular candidate simply because perhaps they don't see Farber as the leader of choice. So it's a situation where he's fighting to hold on to where he is in terms of his seat versus the others who are his detractors who are fighting to remove him from the seat. So it's a difficult tug of war.
Well, I think, you know, that's a narrative to be expected to come from Mr. Barrow. I think it's clear that that's how they want it to go.
Yeah.
But my question is, and this is as a complete outsider, whether members of the party are happy with how things have unfolded. You know, it's been called a coup. Basically, they ousted their leader. It has been on public display, much to ridicule and speculation of the wider public. And so it depends on how members feel going in. You know more than anyone that anything can happen. Perhaps these one-on-one meetings are helpful. Perhaps he's able to, Farber that is able to sway the delegates to support him once again. We know he's been speaking openly about getting therapy and working on himself. Perhaps that will work in his favor. Or, you know, maybe after next Monday we'll be having a conversation about when the next leadership convention will be for the United Democratic Party. But I always, when I have the conversation about this particular issue, I say one thing, which is of most importance. It is important to all of us because a strong opposition is critical. And so whatever processes they have to go through to get their rebuilding started, that's a critical step for us in a democratic nation.
Yeah. Well, you have to consider the fact as well that there is presently a supermajority in the House of Representatives. So all the more we need to have, some show of strength from the opposition. So the final thing that I wanted to touch on this morning as well, Marlene, which also came out of the House meeting on Friday, is the amendment to the Misuse of Drugs Act, where the Ministry of Home Affairs will be looking at amending existing legislation to kind of ease up a bit on the sale and the possession of marijuana. It is interesting to say because it is also a part of the exploration of the new growth industries where cannabis and hemp are being considered, and there's a move towards introducing those as part of a new growth business or idea of industry in this country. So we're looking at that as well, and that is also going to be a discussion to be had in the days ahead. Yeah. We've sat here with the Minister of Home Affairs before where he spoke to some extent on what can be expected in terms of the amendment of that law and the effect of it.
Yeah, it was just, I think last Monday we sat with him and he identified that the gaps that do exist in our legislation when it comes to marijuana for recreational and personal use needed to be addressed. And so we did know that that was coming in the very short term. It is a question. I'm waiting to see what reaction is going to come. We know this has been a highly contentious topic. There are many who are great supporters of this move, and this isn't a full legalization. From what they have explained so far, it's especially to look at the existing gaps of how you purchase and how you sell, and also the fact that you can also grow marijuana in the country. We spoke with the cannabis consultant that's been working very closely with the country, Alex Levin, a while back, and he talked about putting in standards for marijuana growth and for the production of the product itself. It's a new era.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we have this conversation ongoing now when there is a great debate taking place in the United States, just to take it on an international scale, where an Olympian tested positive for marijuana. She's owned up to it. And the big issue for them is, why is she not allowed to compete? It's not a performance-enhancing drug. The regulations are antiquated, and now they're looking at, the conversation is the point where they're talking about, does it need to be changed? So this is where we are in this world, and I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about the details of this legislation.
I'm glad you kind of went there as well, too, because, prior to Sha'Carri testing positive, the world was behind her to say, wow, she broke certain records, and she's doing all of this in terms of her professional athletic achievement, and then boom, the marijuana situation comes smack dab in the middle of that.
But she's had substantial support. I mean, I've been following the case and seeing the rule is the rule, and I think even the President of the United States said the rules are the rules, but maybe they need to be changed. And so she seems to have accepted the fact that she cannot compete, but it brings the bigger issue to the table. You know, these laws exist. Things have changed, and so it's a matter of looking at it and seeing whether it still fits into today's context.
Yeah, perfect way of rounding up the conversation this morning. All right, so that brings us to the end of our Eye on the News this morning. Remember, our newscast in full comes on at 6 o'clock. You can catch us on TV and on Facebook and YouTube when we stream our content. So that does it for the Eye on the News this morning.
All right, and with that, we're getting into our show for today, where as we talk about COVID-19, one of the things we definitely have to put into perspective is the impact of the disease itself. I know we have been talking about COVID for a long time, but this morning we're going to be talking to some recovered COVID-19 patients, finding out how they feel today, finding out how they feel about people choosing not to get vaccinated, putting themselves at risk for this disease, and hearing from them just their thoughts on the existing situation. So we're going to have a panel discussion with recovered COVID-19 patients as the first part of our show.
The second part of our show is a conversation with the Woman Fisher of the Year 2021, and we'll be introducing to you Maria Allen from Keycocker.
And to close off for today, we will hear more about the recent achievement of Brighton Cott. Of course, our viewers especially have seen Brighton on the show and on the news, and Brighton has been working with us, but he is now moving on to bigger things, and we couldn't be more proud. He has landed himself a professional volleyball contract to play in Finland, and we're going to hear all the details about it from Brighton himself in the latter part of the show.
All right, so that does it for our lineup this morning. We ask you guys to stick around. We'll take our first commercial break, and when we return, it's to have our panel discussion. Stay tuned.
Continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Introducing Edam A Cheese, the A+ Dutch cheese to hit the Belizean market. As the name says, it is of A-class quality, the best Dutch cheese in Belize. Edam A Cheese is creamier, less salty, and simply more delicious. Don't be left out. Get your A Cheese at a supermarket near you. A Cheese, exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited. Call us at 610-3626 or 610-8910. Follow us on Facebook at Unitex Belize.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And welcome back. Our first conversation of the morning is a panel discussion, as Marlene alluded to prior to the break, where we have with us via Zoom recovered patient Ingrid Vega, and she's the widow of the late David Dido Vega. Good morning, Ingrid.
Good morning, guys. It's always nice for being here with you guys in the morning. Beautiful Monday morning, and thank you very much for the invite.
No problem at all. We also have with us Dr. Marvin Manzanero. He's been the face of COVID for quite some time, and he himself is a recovered patient as well. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
All right, we also have with us the ERA representative from Benque Viejo, Jorge Espat. Good morning.
Good morning, Marlene and Isani.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and finally, we also have with us Matthew Smiling. He's also a recovered patient, and he's well known in the world of sports in and around Belize City. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning to all.
All right, so COVID-19, we've seen a spike in numbers over the past few weeks, and I know that you guys as recovered patients would have a position perhaps to share in terms of either pushing the idea of getting vaccinated or, promoting the idea of people sticking to certain precautionary measures that include hand washing and that sort of stuff. Let's begin with you, Dr. Manzanero. Share with us your take on what's taking place here in terms of the spike and, of course, perhaps other things that the public can do to try to contain or curtail this surge.
Hi, good morning, Isani and Marlene again. It's important, I think, we stress that those measures that were instituted from the beginning of the pandemic, which is, the precautionary measures, the physical distancing, the mask wearing, avoiding large gatherings, avoiding situations where you are enclosed in bigger groups of persons should be routinely avoided. I was just reading earlier and listening to the press conference in terms of the EpiData in neighboring Mexico. And they are highlighting that one of the key items, because they are in some states going through their third wave, they are considering that one of the key items that is contributing to that is people have kind of relaxed. I know the notions of vaccines is there, but we also need to underscore that vaccines are just one of the prevention measures that we have available now that we didn't have last year. But that doesn't mean that the other relaxation measures will necessarily need to happen. I mean, the mask wearing, from my vantage point, at least as a recovered patient who may be having still long COVID-19 effects, those measures will still continue to be there. And I think that's the encouragement that needs to happen, that we still need to take necessary precautions as we move along.
And I want to press a bit further because you mentioned something important. That's part of what we want to get out. I believe 3 of you were hospitalized. Matthew, you weren't hospitalized for COVID, but the other 3 were hospitalized for COVID-19. And what's unique about the faces that we have here is, one, where we were told the high-risk population is the elderly very early on. You demonstrate that, in fact, age and even health status is not as much a predictor as how serious you'll be affected by COVID. Let me ask from you, how are you feeling today? Ingrid, we'll start with you. You were intubated, I believe, for a few days, and you had very severe COVID-19. I know you were using oxygen for a while. Do you feel 100% today?
No, not at all. I don't think the Ingrid before COVID will ever be Ingrid before COVID. Wow. It's a day, everyday thing. It's a challenge every day. I don't feel 100%. I can't do the things that I used to do before. I still have to monitor my oxygen level. I still have to monitor my heart rate. I do get tired if I do certain things. So it's not the same. It's not the same, and I pray every day that I do feel 100%, but nope, I have to say that I'm not 100% myself.
What's the most difficult long-term symptom you've been dealing with?
I think it's mostly getting the fatigueness, and not being able to do what I used to do, exercising, just moving the way I want to move. And I don't know if it's in my mind but I tend to always be aware of the things that I do now. You know, like just being more careful. So I don't know if it's a mind thing or it's really just COVID.
How do you perhaps interact with your family? And this is to you, Ingrid. How do you interact with your family now in the context of perhaps trying to get them to get vaccinated? I mean, you're recovering from this effect of COVID-19. You've had a loss in your family, and so you know the impact of it. How do you tell those in your family, hey, you haven't caught it, but I would encourage you to go ahead and get vaccinated?
My family was, as soon as they were able to get the vaccine, Isani, they were the first one in line. I didn't have to do anything, you know. I almost lost my mom. My sister and my brother got the COVID. I was intubated. My daughters got the COVID. I lost my husband. So that's pretty good enough reason for my family and myself wanting to go get that vaccine. You know, I remember you guys asking me on the last show when I was there how I felt about that first shipment. We were just getting the vaccines in Belize. And I told you guys I was excited. I appreciated it. I was happy, you know, but I wasn't able to get it because I had to wait a couple months to get it. But as soon as we had that green light, you know, we packed up ourselves, my family and myself, and we were there to get it, you know. Even in my workplace, I think my experience just made my coworkers as well not thinking twice to go get their vaccine when they were ready to get it. So I think my experience tells a lot. Me sharing my story to people that I meet makes a big difference, and people wanting to go get the vaccine.
Let's shift over to Matthew for a second here. Matthew, you know, I remember talking with you, and you talked about some of the side effects like hallucination and the feeling and the fear that you were going to die from this illness. What's it like for you when you hear people talking about, well, why get the vaccine, you know, so maybe I get COVID and nothing will happen?
The way I look at it, again, morning to everybody.
Morning.
I think education, a lot of people are not educated about this disease. It's strange to know that today, after all that has happened, you still have certain people in Belize that don't believe in this this virus. A lot of Belizeans still don't believe that the virus exists. I've been around, I've tried to talk to people, and I won't say I try to convince them. I just try to talk to people and, you know, try to advise people to go and take the vaccine. I mean, I can only speak from my experiences. I have, as you all know, all the underlying condition of not supposed to have survived COVID, but with all the underlying condition that I have, I'm happy and lucky to say that I survived it. There were certain things that I did. I have shared it with everybody. I drank a lot of hot liquid every day, all day. I just kept my body, a lot of hot stuff in my body, and I think that's what got me over. But yes, I was scared, but I wasn't that scared to the point that I wasn't going to fight. No, on recovering, I think for the most part that I have been fully recovered. I don't have any side effect from COVID, not that I know of. I am still getting back to doing what I was doing before COVID. Mind you that prior to COVID, I basically had to be getting checked every month. My heart rate, my pressure, my oxygen, everything that relates to my conditions, I had to be checked every month. So getting checked and monitoring those things in the time of COVID wasn't something new for me, no? My doctors was on top of it. And to correct what you stated earlier, I did spend one night in the hospital when my oxygen level has dropped Doctors advised me to go get oxygen, and that was only overnight. I was released the next day, and from then till now, I don't have any problems, any oxygen problem, anything. I just got a checkup last week, Friday, and everything seems normal. Everything is back to normal. Dr. Quer tell me just keep doing what I'm doing, no?
Yeah.
But the fear of the disease, I don't think that people are really, in Belize, people are really taking it serious. I wish that we will have more people line up at those centers to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I push my workers here for all of them to get vaccinated. I try telling it's not that nobody's violating their rights. It's just that you deal with people, period. And you could never know. It's better be safe than sorry.
And that's just it. You know, I thank you for the clarification that you did have one day in the hospital. And let's move over to Honorable Spat and talk about your experience and when you see kind of the issue with people where they don't want to get vaccinated because they perhaps feel it's unnecessary.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
Yes, Marlene. It's sad to see that some of us are taking the vaccine and some of others they don't want to take it. We were in Arenal on Friday after house meeting. I went to Arenal since we had a clinic day vaccinating the people in Arenal. Thankfully, to say we vaccinated 115 persons. But likewise, we had some persons with concerns that what are the contents, what are the effects. And you know, the thing is that it's the benefit for the entire nation. What the use of some of us having the vaccine or getting vaccinated and the rest not. Bear in mind that we have the new variant in the country. We do not know presently which one of the variant it is. As you well stated earlier in the show that part of the South is on lockdown. We wouldn't want to go back and backtrack to where we started in the sense that we had portions of the country locked down. We're in the phase of and stages of opening the country. I know that we should have one of the cruise ships in the country. But for the same reason, we need to get vaccinated. We cannot continue to live on a lockdown. We need to start to normalize. But we need to make sure that this vaccine is in no way harmful. Rather, it's protecting us. Even though, in fact, we get the virus, it's not going to be to that extreme extent because we have the vaccine to get that protection.
A part of making a choice to get the vaccination is what they've been calling, you know, do your own pros and cons, or look at the risks of the vaccine versus the risks of COVID. And what we're talking about this morning is kind of looking at the risks of COVID. Take us back to the time you were hospitalized. You know, if people can understand just how quickly deterioration can take place with the disease, and also looking at, you know, the concerns that you have even after you recover. Tell us about your experience.
It's something that it's not wish upon no one, Marlene. Its deterioration is quick and fast. I started, when I got the notification that one of my son got infected on Saturday morning while I was in Cala Creek assisting the people with the flood. And by Sunday morning, I was already one of those persons, or together with my son, with the COVID. And by Sunday evening, I was already in the hospital.
Wow.
And it's not. And it's
before
not,
you even tested positive, right? Before you had confirmation, yeah.
Because I got the test, and at the end of the day, I mean, I had all the symptoms. I had high fever, respiratory problems, you know, and they started the treatment right away. Yeah. But a part of that, Marlene, we need to bear in mind that it's something that it's costly. And for one reason, we need to protect ourselves. I mean, the resources, if we don't have the resources, at the end of the day, it's something very costly. Yeah. So for one of those part, we need to make sure, I mean, to take care of ourselves, not getting infected or getting the virus. Yeah. You know?
Dr. Manza, sorry, let me just expand the conversation. Dr. Manza, we know that in a conversation with you after you had been released from the hospital, you talked about what were the long-term COVID effects. How are you doing today? Would you say you're back to 100%?
The mic is not on.
Yeah, you're muted.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Respiratory-wise, I don't know. I didn't go back for a review CAT scan. I do know that I am supposed to get an echocardiogram, which is a cardiac ultrasound, to determine what level of cardiac affection there was. I have managed to run, I think 5 kilometers is the greatest distance I have done this year. Okay. But then there's still some days as that I just feel with no energy. I think that's the best way to describe it. No energy, you just don't feel that there's anything there. You just kind of have to push as if you're in a pilot kind of mode, is automatic mode, if you will. So it's energy that you require to move from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I think the mental component has improved significantly, because as I think Mr. Matthews had mentioned, there's also this notion of hallucinations. I didn't have those, but you do have panic attacks. Insomnia, those are things I had never had before. Altered sleep patterns, you know, you have to learn to live with that. And, you know, the situation in terms of where we are going to go with long COVID, there's an article just published in the New England, I believe it's last week or through the weekend, where it's highlighting, the headline says, the long-term public health effects of long COVID. That's our next public health disaster. That's what the US is saying. Yeah. And now they have established long COVID-19 clinics in the US because of all these side effects that the people are going to start to have or are starting to have. You know, it's been linked to higher increases in terms of diabetes, poorer health in terms of your mental health condition, heart conditions associated to it. So there's many things that are still unknown about the virus.
Yeah, with long-term, long-haul COVID or long-term COVID effects, we know that sometimes people are detecting organ damage even after they have recovered due to COVID. But let's bring it back to the risk analysis once again, Dr. Manzanero, specifically for you. When you look at your situation, you didn't have underlying conditions. You were a runner. You were running marathons, and you were hospitalized for a while as well. We seem to have become a victim of our own success in looking at the fact that we've learned to treat people. We learned to detect some of the symptoms. So now people say, well, if I get COVID, I'll be fine.
Well, you see, one of the things that's also coming up, and that's why we always have to be reviewing the literature, is that with the new variant, the Delta variant, which is the one that is of concern, but there's other variants, not only that, you know, the Alpha, the Beta, the Lambda from down south, is that the Delta variant doesn't seem to be the classical symptoms that we were exposed to initially.
Yeah.
Actually, the majority of cases are now indicating that they are not having loss of sense, loss of taste, that the infectious situation is much more higher. It can be up to 60 to 80% higher than the previous variant that we knew. And people are having more like the traditional symptoms of the flu. So that might be more difficult to detect as we move along, because people may be just classifying it as a traditional flu, and before you start having major impact in terms of severe illness, then it may have already propagated itself. So
I was going to say, can I just jump in there for a second, because I don't want us to lose that point. We haven't talked about that as yet. Delta is different in how it presents itself. Before, we were looking for high fever and we were looking for loss of taste and smell. But in fact, the new data is suggesting that Delta will look very much, your early symptoms, like a cold or a flu. So you'll have runny nose, for example. You'll have congestion, things like that.
Yeah, that is correct. That's what the symptoms in the US and other countries are presenting us. It's just a more common flu.
Wow. And that's concerning for two reasons. One, the transmissibility, a sneeze or a cough, but also it's that we're entering into rainy season. People say they'll get wet, they'll think they get a cold, and it's nothing.
That is correct, which is why also countries, I know I read a report from the UK yesterday in terms of the vaccination strategy that they're implementing is that they're considering that starting this fall, and it's a consideration only, they may start giving a booster in terms of the vaccines that they are implementing. So that means that they would be, in our case, would be a third dose. That's a consideration that's been thrown out simply because of what happens, as you have rightly said, during the colder season. In the UK, at least, I have seen that. So I think other countries will eventually follow to see what kind of recommendations they will have to make.
Yeah, yeah.
Give us your take, Dr. Manzanero, on the recent surge of persons who are coming out to get vaccinated. I know that there has been a push from the very beginning. It may not have taken off as, you know, as how the government may have wanted it, but there seems to be some change in terms of people now making up their minds to go and stand in line and get vaccinated. Give us your take on that.
Well, I think that's good. I mean, one is I think we always have to find out why people don't want to get vaccinated, because then that will drive where what your target situation is going to be. But I think that one of the items we need to underscore is that doesn't mean that you let your guard down.
Yeah.
I think that that's very important. Understand that even after you get your second dose, it's going to take you 4 to 8 weeks to develop the immunity that your body is going to have. And even so, understand that with the new variants, the protection decreases. It's not completely thrown out the window. And so the precautions that we have always been taking, I think will have to be there. I know we want to go back to the norm where we were before. I'm not so sure about a norm as we were before. I think we have to start considering this new norm situation. You have to learn to live with the virus and take your precautions as you move along. Also understand that even if you have had COVID, even if you have had your 2 doses like us that are here around, we can still get COVID again, and we don't know what the situation is going to be. It could be worse. Hopefully it can be better, that we have good immunity. But I mean, it's just unpredictable.
Yeah. The other interesting thing about the new variants, and especially, well, we know especially with Delta, is that, and the one from the south in Brazil, is that it's affecting younger people. Let's just give, you know, if you could talk to the population right now who think, oh, I'll get COVID and it'll be no big deal because I'm not elderly, I don't have underlying conditions. What would you say to them about what it's really like to get COVID-19?
Well, again, we will have to go back and review the data, because what's happening in the UK and some parts of central US, for example, you're having more pediatric populations also being hospitalized. The northern part of Mexico, the amount of people that are becoming infected are the younger population. And the ones that are winding up in the hospital are the younger population. We also may be having a good amount of people. You know, we have an obesity problem in the country. Underlying diabetes has probably not been diagnosed before. So even if you're young and you might not know that you have a disease, that could be the trigger, and COVID-19 is a situation that can flip it over for everybody.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that because you are young, you don't wind up being inside a hospital. You can, and there is mortality associated to it now.
Yeah. Matthew, what would you say to people?
I put it simply as this: when we sick, we seek doctor's advice. We go to the doctor's office, and the doctor would write a prescription on a piece of paper for us, and then we go to the pharmacy and we pay for whatever medication the doctor prescribes, and then we take the medication. So we trust the doctor then. Now with this COVID, why not trust the doctors? The doctors are telling us to go get vaccine. The vaccine is free. They're not charging us for the vaccine. Why not trust the doctor now? I mean, all these years gone by, we have been trusting our doctors. So why not trust them now? Yeah. And like I said before, it's not something personal. It's for everybody. And the statistics is there. I mean, I always ask people to take the good from the US rather than take the bad. Look at the US statistics. The more they vaccinate, the less cases they have. And that is being proven. And like Dr. Manzanera said, it's not that we that got vaccinated won't be catching the disease. It's just the fact that it won't be as severe as if we don't get the vaccine. Yeah. So I don't know why the scare is about getting the vaccine. Also, you showed a chart there that the side effects from the vaccine. The side effects from the vaccine is far less than catching the disease or catching the virus. You know, the side effect won't land you in the hospital, but the virus, there's a high chance that the virus might land you on a hospital bed. So the side effects is minimal compared to what the actual catching the virus will do. Yeah. So again, my advice to Belizean to go get vaccine.
Yeah. And Ingrid, you know, thank you for coming on. You are one of the very few, if not maybe the only person to speak up about losing a loved one to COVID-19. There are over 300 families in this country that have had to suffer a loss due to COVID-19. You know, when you put that into perspective and you hear the hesitation or the skepticism or even maybe dismissiveness about COVID-19, what does that feel like to you who felt the suffering personally but also suffered the loss?
It's not easy, Blaze. It's not easy living with COVID or having COVID. You know, and I think about the other 300 and 40 people that lost someone. And sometimes I get angry, honestly. That's the first thing I think about. I get angry because, and the first thing that comes in mind is like, are these people not thinking? Or it's like what Matthew said, let's listen to our doctors. You know, they are the professionals. We supposed to be grateful to the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have the vaccines available. It's now open to people that are 18 years and older. Let's take advantage of it. There's so many countries out there that don't even have the vaccines available for these people. So we are blessed in that sense. We can get it. You know, and yes, I get angry because I'm like, come on, guys, do you guys really want to go through what I went through or what we all went through? Yeah. Let's avoid that, you know? It's painful. And one day, what did I get? I got a swollen arm for like maybe 1 or 2 days. You know, I got a little bit tired, but that was nothing compared to what I went through. Yeah. It's nothing. Yeah. We can handle one day. We can handle 1 day or 2 days of the chills. It was not easy. So let's go out there. Let's get vaccinated. Let's try doing a new norm. You know, we want to go out there. And like what do they say? Before you relax, let's get vaxxed. Yeah. I'm kind of relaxing right now because I got one. So now I'm waiting for my second dose at the end of this month. And believe me, I'm going to be more relaxed after I get my second one. Yeah.
What about you guys, the other three on the panel? Have you guys also been vaccinated?
I got both of mine. I'm good. I'm waiting for when they tell me that we could get to another one when the other variant come around.
Zero hesitation from this panel.
Yeah, myself, I'm on the first one, so I'm waiting for my second one, just like Ingrid.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you Dr. Manza?
I got one. I'm due for my second one. I can tell you participating in a study as a worker where my sample was taken, where I volunteered my sample to study the antibodies I had the day I got the vaccine. I still had a fair amount of antibodies, so it could either be two things. I had a very good immune system, or I got a very heavy viral load, and that's why I was so ill. So 5 months after I was hospitalized, I still had antibodies in my system. And then the study indicates that it would take sample 6 weeks after the first dose of the vaccine. I'm waiting for that result. And then I get 6 weeks after my second dose and 6 months after. And what that tries to do, the study is try to determine the level of antibodies and how much immunity you have after the disease and after the vaccines to see how that maps out. So we're waiting for those results, but I am due for my second vaccine in next couple of weeks.
You know, I think it's been a very interesting time being reminded of what it's like to go through COVID-19. When we talk of people who struggled to breathe, talked about the isolating feeling of being hospitalized with no loved ones, the fear of it possibly getting worse, and then how long it takes to actually feel more like yourself. I guess, Ingrid, you're saying you feel like you'll never be like yourself again, or at least for now, still struggling with some of the side effects. What are your closing thoughts? Just kind of one line. If you could talk to the people out there very quickly, what would you say to them about taking the situation seriously and making the choice to get vaccinated? Let's start with you, Honorable Espat.
Just like to say that if you love your family and friends, get your vaccination. Let's be safe. And before you relax, get vaxxed.
Yeah.
Ingrid?
Let's fight this together, please, because we can make it. Let's do our lines. Let's get our vaccines, and we fight it together no matter what. We're here, and we can keep on going, you know, with God's blessing. But we need you guys to get out there and get vaccinated.
Yeah.
All right, and then Matthew, and then Dr. Manza.
Likewise, everybody needs to get vaccinated. Coincidentally, I was with some friends a weekend ago, and they were complaining that we need to open back. And I asked all of them, have you got vaccinated? And none of them got vaccinated. So I said to them, the only way we're going to open back if everybody get vaccinated. So it's up to you guys. It's up to Belize as a whole. Get vaccinated so we could go back to normal.
Yep.
Yeah. And finally, you, Dr. Manzanero.
Well, I think the collective action that response that we may have is going to be guided by our individual responsibilities. I don't think that we just need to continue with that educational process in engaging everybody, because maybe the vaccine is the opportunity to open up to people and be able to explain to them what COVID-19 is really all about, not just the vaccine process, but what may come after. Because we also can't be blinded by the fact, and we always have to be guided by science.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that today's conversation assists in helping people to make that decision. Thank you for sharing your experience once again and allowing us to revisit just how severe COVID-19 can be and how you can end up in the hospital and really have a challenging time even after you've recovered. So thank you all, and continue to stay safe.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Thank you, morning.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Definitely could talk about that longer, but we know some of our panelists have to get to work, so we appreciate them for sharing their experience. Isani, you know, I think in all the talk about vaccination and testing and whatnot, we really have forgotten just how challenging COVID-19 can be.
Yeah, even in the aftermath of having contracted the illness.
Yeah. I know. I remember when we interviewed Ingrid, and you know, she was still wearing oxygen. When Dr. Manzanero was still having breathlessness in his post-interviews. I remember talking to Matthew and him talking of the challenge of isolating. And you know, we haven't dived so much into the mental health aspect, but just imagine having to spend 2 weeks with just the fear that this might be it. Even if you get mild COVID-19, for people who are parents, for people who, you know, still have a lot more that they want to do with their lives, that fear itself, it's a trauma.
It's very heavy.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, as I said, we're grateful to our panel this morning for sharing their experience. So yes, while some people do recover, and many do recover from COVID-19, it doesn't mean they get back to 100%, and it doesn't mean that it's an experience that they wouldn't have wanted to avoid. But we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we come back, we're shifting gears to meet the Fisher of the Year. So please stay tuned.
This COVID update was brought to you by Foltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service. Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Foltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky, and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Foltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
You've worked hard your whole life building your future, your family, your business, your home. And when you aren't around to safeguard your most beloved assets, you are at ease because you know they are protected by RF&G Insurance. For over 50 years, RF&G has been making sure business owners get back to work after an accident, and families get back into their homes quickly after a natural disaster. At RF&G, it's you who matters most. Visit us today and learn why it pays to get it right. RF&G Insurance, a Rowe Group company.
Infinite Health presents Common Sense Herbs, everything your body needs, and are all natural, dairy-free, non-GMO, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and are FDA monitored. Everything your body needs. Distributor in Belize, Infinite Health, Birdseye, Belize City. Telephone number 613-1914. That's 613-1940.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
And welcome back. We have a woman Fisher of the Year joining us this morning.
That's right.
Ordinarily, when we talk about fishing and the fisheries industry, we also look at it as a male-dominated field. But this time around, we're welcoming and celebrating the achievement of Maria Allen as the Fisher for 2021. Good morning, Maria.
Good morning.
Let's talk about the feeling of being chosen as the Fisher of the Year 2021, given all your contributions to this industry.
Well, first off, I'd like to give good morning to the country of Belize and abroad. And first off, it's great to be a woman and being selected as the Fisher of the Year. My accomplishments, I couldn't have done it without my dad, as he always used to push me, even though I'm a female. So the greatest accomplishments are for him.
Yeah.
You're coming in from Caye Caulker. The island, of course, is known for all of its seafaring activities and what have you. What was your path like? What was your journey like in terms of growing up sea and sand and going fishing and that sort of stuff that gathered your interest in the sea?
Well, coming from the island of Caye Caulker, well, my dad was a founder of Northern Fisherman Cooperative.
Okay.
So growing up, well, we are on the sea all around. So I think that just pushed me and motivated me to, you know, do what I wanted to do, you know. It was, I don't really know how to explain, like, everything it's water all around you, so
yeah.
And, you know, growing up, well, I would go out with my dad, you know, and you get to learn something different every day.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Do you think it's, I mean, when you grow up around it, and it's almost like there's no other way, and you can't imagine that people would look at women especially and think that they're not going to be fisher folk. You have been doing it since you were young.
Yes, I've been doing it since I was young, and I also have 3 sisters.
Yeah.
But none of them really showed that interest into going out like I did.
Yeah.
You know? So
your dad must have been really proud of you?
Yes, because I mean, it's strange because I mean, having 3 other sisters and I'm the only one, you know, like to go out fishing, pulling the traps and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, it's a strange thing for a woman to do then.
Yeah. But explain it a bit further, because for people who don't understand the life of a fisher, they may not understand why it is unique, not unheard of, and there are other female fishers as well. So it's definitely growing, but people don't understand how it's unique. So you go out on your own to check your traps and whatnot. You're captaining your own boat and managing everything?
Well, I go out along with my husband and my 2 kids.
Okay.
I have 2 sons, and I have my husband that we go out. My husband was actually not a fisherman, but moving here with me, he became a fisherman. So we go out, we pull the traps, we check the traps. We also do stone crab, which we sell to some of the restaurants all over the country. So it's hard work because we do have to pull the traps. You know, when you go fishing, you need to get the sardines, which is the bait. So it's not an easy job for a woman.
Yes.
You know, so to pull the traps are like maybe 75 to 100 pounds, you know, and then the lobster that's in there. So it's not easy, it's hard, but I think that when you put yourself to it, it's like any other job, you know.
Share with us the successes of being able to grow up in a family of fisher folk and now having your own family where you're instilling these values in them.
Well, I actually, I'm also a tour guide, no? But that was my first thing that I did before really taking the fishing seriously. Because, well, ever since I was little, I used to go on the boat with my dad. So, you know, I always knew that the water was something that I loved, you know, and then getting into the tour guiding and seeing all that you could see out there. Then I eventually decided, well, you know, I love the sea, and you know, about 10 years ago, that's when I really took it to do the fishing as a job. And well, it's good sometimes, and then it's bad sometimes. As you guys all know, that last year the fishing industry didn't do too good, but this year we are doing better.
Yeah. What are some of the unique challenges since COVID-19 for fisher folk?
Well, the challenges we had during COVID was the tourism industry. You know, it just closed down, and you know, we depend on selling some of our product to the hotels,
yeah,
to restaurants. So that put a big hit on the entire fishing community. Yeah. So we coped with it, and we're still coping with it. Yeah. You know, we're trying to bounce back from that bad air from the COVID, no?
Yeah. Let's shift gears, Maria, and tell us what it was like to be nominated and then selected as Fisher of the Year.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank Mr. Fuller, because he called me and he said he's nominating me. Mm-hmm. I never thought that I would be selected. You know, a few years ago, I went to Merida to a conference with the Fisheries Department where we did a female fisherwoman. We represented the fisherwomen there. Mm-hmm. And it's been something coming from then. No, it wasn't just like one year and then I got here. It's been something coming from about 3 to 4 years. And I didn't really expect to get selected as the female fisherwoman. So
when Mr. Fuller said he was nominating you, did he say why?
Well, he just said, I'd like to nominate you for the Female Fisherwoman of the Year. And I was like, you think maybe I would win?
And when you got the news that you won, what was your reaction?
I was like, I didn't know what to say. No. I was like, really? Like, you sure?
All right, so what words of encouragement would you have for other young girls, other women who want to get into this field, considering the fact that, like I've mentioned before, for whatever reason, we all look at fishing and heading out to sea as something that men are mostly inclined to?
Well, first off, I'd like to say that yesterday, while at the cooperative, because I do receive the product from a fisherman for national cooperative also, I met a fisherman from San Pedro, and he brought his daughter with him. Not thinking about it, I didn't actually get the pictures from him, no? Yeah. But he take pictures of his daughter. His daughter is about 9 or 10 years old, and she's already doing it, you know? So the encouragement I would give is, a lot of people look at females like that job is not for them. But if a female feels that, you know, that's her calling like I did, well, you know, I encourage them to say, you know, move up and do what's good for you. And don't worry about what anyone else says.
Yeah. All right. And so your sons, they're going to continue with the family tradition?
Yes, they will. My 2 sons and my husband, they actually do the fishing. And when I get my days off, like on Saturdays and Sundays, that's when I go out to do it.
Nice. All right, so thanks a lot for having joined us, and best of luck to you and your family as you go about your fishing career and your endeavors.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And I'd like to thank everyone in Belize and abroad.
All right, Maria, it was great meeting you. Fisher of the Year for 2021. Congratulations and keep up the hard work.
Thank you.
All right.
We take our commercial break, Marlene, and when we return, it's to have a chat with Brighton Cod.
That's right.
Who's off to Finland to pursue a professional career in volleyball. So we'll hear all about that from him when we return from our commercial break. It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime. While with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Why should you wear your mask? To protect myself. My friends. My family and others. I wear my mask because I love my grandparents. With so many reasons to wear a mask, we continue to advise persons to wear a face mask properly, covering both nose and mouth. Together, we can keep Belize COVID-19 safe.
Dwayne Moody, Isani Cayetano, Andrea Polanco, Paul Lopez. Your News 5 Belize teams do whatever it takes, go wherever they need to go, so you can catch the story wherever you are, whenever you want, on whatever device. Channel 5 Belize on television, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Because news is now everywhere, all the time. And so are we.
Reduce your risk of viral illness like the flu or the coronavirus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water or with an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth when coughing or sneezing with a tissue. Throw away, then wash hands immediately. Avoid close contact with anyone who has the cold or flu-like symptoms. If you become ill, please visit your doctor or nearest health center and share your travel history. A health and wellness message from your Ministry of Health.
And welcome back. Our final conversation this morning. We have been joined by volleyball and professional athlete Brighton Codd, and we also have been joined by his coach, Luis Salgado. As we mentioned earlier, these guys are off to Finland, and of course Brighton is going to be playing professionally in Finland. Good morning, Brighton, and good morning, Luis.
Morning, Isani. Morning, Marlene. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
nice
Brighton.
Nice to meet you, all of you.
All right, no problem at all. Quite an accomplishment on your end, Brighton. You're the first Belizean athlete to be taking on a professional career in Europe. Talk to us about the excitement. I know you had a press conference late last week to discuss this achievement. How are you feeling, and what are we looking forward to?
I'm super ecstatic right now, Isani. It's a dream being actualized. I've been playing volleyball for next year will make 10 years, and certainly I look forward to scaling up and elevating my game, and it's definitely something I look forward to. I signed my contract on Friday, and this is with the professional team out of Finland in Rovaniemi, which is in the northern part of Finland, so it's very, very cold. But I think I could handle the cold now after being in Canada for 2 years.
Yeah.
But certainly, it's an opportunity, not just for myself, but because it opens doors and it's opening up the exposure for more Belizeans to be able to matriculate into professional career for volleyball and other sports as well.
I wanted to step back for a minute just so we could put it into perspective. You know, Brighton, and I think we're all so proud of you, but what people don't know behind the scenes is how hard you were working with an agent to get your name out there, to be able to secure a contract. We've talked about it quite a few times. You had gotten previously a scholarship to study with volleyball, but the next level was getting into the sport professionally. Tell us about the work behind the scenes that people don't see, because it's not like you were just handpicked and like everyone just suddenly had attention on Belize. You had to get your name out there.
Oh, right, certainly. Well, even from before I went to Canada, I had to ensure that I was performing on the court while representing Team Belize, and I met Luis in 2014, which was my first time playing for Team Belize at the senior level. And at that time, he was not playing with Honduras because he's from Honduras, and we know him as the Beast. And so in 2017, when I went to the Central American Games, I met him, and we spoke a bit after one of our matches against Honduras. And the work has been consistent. You have to be able to put yourself out there as an athlete. You have to get your videos together. You have to ensure, in terms of academics, if you want to pursue university or college, your grades are good. And you also need to ensure that you're understanding the politics behind sports as well, because there's a lot of politics involved. And earlier this year, I started to speak with Luis, and he told me that there's an opportunity because he will be the head coach of Team Purple in Finland. Yes. And at the same time, I was looking for an opportunity to go and play professionally as well. And earlier this year, I did get an opportunity to possibly play in Denmark, but it did not land. And so I said, well, I have to try and find another route. And Luis presented this opportunity to me, and the rest is history from there. We signed on Friday, and the work has been consistent. It's been hard. You must document yourself.
Yeah.
You must ensure that you're always on your A game, especially when you're representing your country. That's when the eyes are on you the most.
Yeah. And let's jump in here, Coach. Tell us about recruiting international players and why Brighton stood out, other than just being so tall.
Yes. When my opportunity come, I can say the truth. The first thing I am think about it, I say Brighton is coming with me. That's why my idea from the beginning, when I have the opportunity to coach that team. Why? Because when I start as a professional volleyball player, nobody helped me. Nobody showed one hand to say, hey guys, come to play here and something like that, because all the doors was closed for Central America. Even today, Brighton know that, because Central America normal is not volleyball like a professional volleyball in our place in Central America. But one of the things I have really focused as a professional volleyball player, and now in my new career as a coach, is checking, is see all the around Central America, all the players, what is doing. I see all the players, not just Brighton. Yeah. I follow all the players in Central America, and always I think about it. Okay, if we have one opportunity to someone to help, the first one, and I can tell the truth, was Brighton. Yeah. Why? Because he's one of those guys who is preparing for, he's training really hard, he's trying to looking for. We are talking about this opportunity years ago. Many years ago, they say, hey, you have one chance, you cannot miss that chance, you need to work hard. You are close. You are not like a big distance about getting that opportunity. And now when I have the opportunity, in my case, I say in the beginning with all the manager from the team, I say, okay, I have one guy from Belize, I want that guy in my team.
Yeah. That's
it. After that, we can talk about the middle blocker, we can talk about the libero, we can talk about anyone, doesn't matter. But I want that guy in my team. And
was it a tough sell?
How many weeks? We have 3 weeks, almost like that. Like working about. Hey, look at the manager sent me another video. No, I want Brighton. I want that guy in my team. And then last week we finally finished all the detail with Brighton, and I'm so happy. Really happy and excited to see Brighton, what I say, in the real deal. That's what I want from Brighton. Yeah. See Brighton in the real deal, okay? Because it's not easy to get it. Once, because in volleyball is a lot of players around the world try to find one place like that. And I am sure Brighton is going to do it pretty well. He can to fit the league, and I got to fit not just for the league, mostly for his life, career in volleyball, because it's just the entry, is the first door. After that, the door is come up, and I'm sure he can get it, all of them.
Yeah, but Luis, let's just go back to it for a moment, and acknowledge how difficult it is. For you're saying Central America, we use the example of Belize. For people, nobody comes looking for, especially volleyball talent here. So you really have to get yourself out as kind of a beacon to say, hey, I'm here and I'm as good as some of the other players you're seeing who've been training since they were 5. Talk about how big a deal that is.
Well, I imagine when I am playing, many years ago, the first answer for me was, hey guy, you are good, but you are from Central America. That was the answer.
Wow.
And that's a shock. And you know what? one day I meet that guy playing against them. He was the coach, and I beat them. And that guy say, okay, you see, we are volleyball in Central America. Brighton is like this guy, one of the generation from Central America. They deserve that opportunity. I am really trying because we have just a couple of years ago trying put another Central American player in Europe. Was so difficult for him. But from Brighton is more easy. Why? One thing is one guy who is a really nice person, really nice guy, work hard. Right now it's all important. He finished his studies. He's a university guy. He finished his college. And it is more easy. Why? Because it's easy to teach. It's easy to work with them. Like normal in Central America, you start like from 16 years old or 17 years old play volleyball. Like me, I start from 17 years old.
Yeah,
okay,
which is late.
Yes, it's really late.
It's like
it's really late. It's in Europe, you start from 9 or 10 years old, and you know what guy is going to be that guy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something is really difficult to find. One of the things, because I know Brighton, I say, Brighton, you are almost in my situation. You start late, but if you work constantly, I'm sure you start to get it. I remember he write me an email by Facebook. He said, Luis, I get a scholarship. I was so excited because this is just one little step for what I have right now.
Yeah.
You know, this is one little step because normal in Central America, when you don't get it, the opportunity, okay, you just came a moment come. Oh, okay, I don't get it. I don't fight anymore for that opportunity. No, Brighton was not that way. Was trying to get the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, and just go one step forward, and right now is more like I have in the position. From Central America, we have a lot of talent. I am checking all those. But right now, in my opinion, all that talent right now is under 23 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The next step is for all these guys, they are under 23.
Yeah.
For the new talent. I am hope. It's not easy to get, for me, I like to get 3 or 4 or 5, but it's not easy because you need to have very things detailed with all of them.
Yeah.
And right now, Brighton have all these details working right now.
Yeah.
That's happened like every 5 years, one play every 5 or 7 years. It's not easy for Central America. Why? Because here is not professional. We have one distance about tournaments. So we have how many tournaments? 2 tournaments during the years, during every 2 years. Mm-hmm. That's it. When the tournament show up like 5 tournaments in 5 years, I can tell you they can be so different in Central America.
All right,
but this is just the start for a new generation for this kind of opportunity.
Yeah. So Brighton, talk to us about the length of your contract and of course when you begin your transition to Europe.
So the contract is a 2 years contract. It starts next month and it goes until April of 2023. And the contract is renewable every year. So if I do possibly get offers to play at an even higher level, then that could be negotiated going forward, and it's understood that I could do that in the contract. Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit speechless because it's so surreal. Yeah. We don't get a lot of success stories like these from athletes in our country, and I just look at it as myself being inspired in this process, as well as all those younger generations coming up.
Right. If you'd allow me, and I do, because, you know, congratulations. And I want you to speak on something specific here, because I know we've had the conversation so many times. Yeah. You have been so disciplined about reaching this goal? Like you decided, even though you were perhaps older than most people when they get recruited, that you're coming from Belize. You knew all the odds that were stacked against you, and you made a decision that you would keep on training at a professional level beyond what happens in Belize and putting yourself out there. Let's talk about the work that it took, because that's a key part.
Yeah, certainly discipline is critically important, Marlene. You have to be disciplined not just with your physical, but also with your mental and with your nutritional. So the pandemic did bring huge adversities for me. Don't let anyone think that it's different for me. It brought huge adversities. I gained approximately 25 pounds last year during the pandemic, and in December I was at 230 pounds, and I realized that I had to start exercising and dieting again. And now I'm back to my goal weight. I'm at 215 pounds. But it takes discipline not only on the court, but off the court as well. Taking care of your body, ensuring that you're doing the workouts, you're running, you're doing gym time, and you're also working on the technical and fundamental parts of the game, because with this entire year that went with us not being able to play sports, you lose a lot of the technical aspect of the sport. With volleyball, after 2 days not playing, you begin to lose coordination with the sport. And so it's critically important to stay just behind it and keep going. And then also the mental part, ensuring that your mind is in a good space. I think one of the things that Coach Alan Sharp always spoke to us about while I started as a young Jaguar back in 2012, he said that volleyball is 85% mental, 15% physical. You could be the most physical player, but at the end of the day, the more successful player is the one who has better control over their mind and better control over the mental aspect of the game.
And explain to us, because I know it's a huge deal being signed on to the professional league, but explain to us why you keep on saying, or why the message is that this is going to open the doors. Tell us why, Brighton.
I think it's a part of who I am, Marlene. Firstly, we have never ever played at this level before. No volleyball player has ever signed a professional contract to play elsewhere, particularly in Europe, and Europe is one of the biggest confederations for volleyball in the world. And just like when I went to Canada, it created an opportunity for all those other athletes that are going away right now. And it becomes a culture, and that is what I think is critically important. The ability for other young people to say, you know what, I could do this too. If I stay disciplined, if I work hard, I could get these opportunities as well. And I think that's exactly what will happen now with me going professional. Other athletes are already saying, when I'm finished with college, I want to go play professionally as well. And so I'm explaining to them some of the process that I had gone through before getting to this point, the importance of building networks with people from our communities, and the importance of building rapport with coaches and other athletes from around the world. So certainly doors will be open. It's just a part of who I am. It's part of my, I guess, my nature. I like to create opportunities for others to thrive as well.
So what's your message to Belizean players out there, male and female, who are hoping that one day they will be recruited to play professional volleyball as an athlete?
I think my biggest message would be, Marlene, is to have athletes know that the biggest limitation is the one that we put on ourselves. When we remove limitations from ourselves, it opens opportunities that we didn't even know we could achieve. And it's about being consistent, it's about being disciplined, but also being humble in the process, and knowing that humility will take you a long way. You learn from everyone who you encounter. If there are certain things that you don't agree with, you take away what you can, you learn from it, and you grow.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Best of luck, Brighton and Coach Salgado, on your pursuit for excellence in Finland.
Isani, if I just can very quickly,
go right ahead, brother.
I must send a huge shout out to my setter Elton Anderson, because I always tell the guys he's one of the veterans on the team, but without him, I would not be the amazing attacker that I am today. So I gotta send a shout out to my guy Elton Anderson.
No problem.
All right.
Congratulations once again on your accomplishments.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isani. Thank you, Marlene.
And thank you too, Louis.
Thank you.
All
really
right.
appreciate it.
Okay.
We're happy.
And there you have it. That is the update from Brighton Cod and his new coach, Luis Salgado, talking about being able to recruit talent right here from Central America and right here from Belize. We're definitely proud of Brighton. Sad to see him go, but still so proud on this great achievement that he's put in. And I have to tell you, behind the scenes, Isani, you know, I've always talked with Brighton about this particular. He had decided that this was something he wanted to do, and it's great to see it finally happen.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Proud of him.
All right, so there you go. We're going to go ahead and take our final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up. So stay tuned.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your smart broadband with smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
2020 taught us the importance of being connected to the virtual world, and NextGen is here to keep its commitment to you. Even if you're physically apart, NextGen keeps you digitally connected.
Okay everyone, thank you for following me today.
NextGen provides more than just an internet plan. They provide service plans that support all your online needs. Sign up today and get your NextGen's ultra high-speed internet service. NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
We're back. Congratulations once again to Brighton and to Maria.
Yes.
Brighton being the professional volleyball athlete with the contract just having been signed, and of course Maria being the fisher for 2021. Both great accomplishments on an individual and a professional level. And of course, Marlene, as we continue to discuss the pandemic situation and where we are as a country, the conversation that we had to kick off the show earlier with the panel of 4 is a reminder that COVID is very much here and we have to find a way of dealing with it. And even those of us who have contracted the virus and have survived it, there are still certain long-term effects that some of us are dealing with.
Yeah.
And so it's an open conversation. We're learning new things every day, but it's also a reminder that we must take individual responsibility in our practices and what have you.
Absolutely. And you know, we deviated away from talking about COVID and the effects and the symptoms and whatnot because we were in a better place. But it was important to have the conversation this morning so we can remember just how serious it can be.
Yeah.
And that's just the conversation of people who've been hospitalized due to COVID. When you start talking to people who've lost loved ones, who've seen them, you know, have had to see them going to a hospital and never see them again after that, that's a whole other consequence that we wouldn't want to face. We do encourage people to get vaccinated. And even if you have gotten your first dose or second dose, remember that we still have to maintain our protocols. You're not fully protected until you a few weeks after you receive your second dose. So if you were part of the rush last week, it's not quite it's not safe yet. So keep on using all the protocols that you're supposed to do, and let's try to get these numbers down. Hisani, before we wrap up the show for today, there is a birthday shout out that we missed a bit earlier, and we cannot let it go because this is a big one coming from one of our Channel 5 dads here.
We are saying happy birthday to Brianna Usher. There she goes. And this is coming to you from your dad, Alvin, and your mom, and all of us here at Channel 5 and Open Your Eyes.
Brianna, we want to say a happy birthday to you. Do enjoy your day. And with that, though, we got to wrap up the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, Belize.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.